Hi, this is Dr. Gregory Sadler. I'm a professor of philosophy and the president and founder of an educational consulting company called Reason.io, where we put philosophy into practice. I've studied and taught philosophy for over 20 years, and I find that many people run into difficulties reading classic philosophical texts. Sometimes it's the way things are said or how the text is structured. But the concepts themselves are not always that complicated, and that's where I come in. To help students and lifelong learners, I've been producing longer lecture videos and posting them to YouTube. Many viewers say they find them useful. What you're currently watching is part of a new series of shorter videos, each of them focused on one core concept from an important philosophical text. I hope you find it useful as well. Chapter 13 of Aristotle's On Interpretation is going to conclude with a very interesting discussion about possibility or potentialities, dunamis in Greek. And Aristotle is going to point out that the idea or term of possible, it's not a univocal one. That means that there are multiple meanings or senses, and this is going to depend on some important distinctions that we can make. The first one that he's going to bring up, one that, by the way, is going to be used by later authors who are not necessarily Aristotelians but have come into contact with this text, is going to be between rational metalogu, with reason, and irrational alogon me katalogon, not in accordance with reason, potentialities. So rational potentialities would be those of, say, a rational being, right? Or those that would be structured by a rational being. A doctor operating on patients using medicine is a rational being. Now, some of the bodily things are not going to be rational. And then he's going to, use fire as an example of an irrational potentiality. The fire does not have a choice in things. It's going to heat things up. If it's there, it has the potential to make things hotter, and it doesn't turn it on or off, right? Fire is just fire. It's irrational. So rational potentialities can have multiple and opposed, whatever you want to translate it as, ways. Issues is the translation here. And the Greek is a little bit more ambiguous because it just says they can have or they can be in multiple or opposed ways, right? And then Aristotle says not all irrational potentialities have this sort of characteristic. Fire has to give heat, no choice, right? That means that some irrational potentialities could go one way or the other, and these could be opposed to each other, but not all of them are that way. And actually, as a side note, a lot of the knowledge that we have of the natural world or of our bodies is based on irrational potentialities that, once they become actual, they've got to go the way that they typically do. So we rely on that pretty heavily. So that's one important distinction. He's also going to bring up another set of distinctions by talking about the word potentialities, dunamis in the plural, is actually ambiguous. In the Greek for that, homonumoi, right? We have this term that's kind of like that in English, homonymous, right? And it means that there's more than one way to interpret that term. Why? Because the term possible, dunaton, which is coming from the same root as dunamis, possible is not said in just one single way. It's not haplos in Greek. It's not simple. So how do we use this term possibility, potentiality, dunamis? Sometimes we use it of what is actualized, what is indeed the case, what has come into being or is changed into being that way. Hos energeia on. So the on means the being, being as if it were in its activity, in actuality, we can say. And then he's going to say we can also use it of what can be actualized, right? There's the potentiality, kat energean, in accordance with the activity, the actualization, but isn't necessarily so, or isn't so at the time. So I have the potential to walk, that's an example that he's going to give you, but I'm not walking right now, right? So I have the second kind, what can be actualized. Now I'm walking around, and you see me walking around. This is in actuality. Right? Those are, you could say, well, he can keep on walking. He is able to walk because I see him walking right there. These are two different ways in which the term potentiality, dunamis, is being used. And he points out that the second can only be used of things that are movable or changeable, kineton, right? That are capable of kinesis in Greek. The first can be used of things that are indeed movable, but also of things that stay the same, the immovable things, which, what would that include for Aristotle? Things like the universe itself, the celestial bodies, except insofar as they are, moving through the heavens and things like that. So he says this is an important thing to keep in mind. Then he's going to talk about, he's going to go into a little bit of a digression. The possible in some senses of that term, he says, follows on the necessary. And this is part of Aristotle's metaphysics, we could say. Necessity not only trumps possibility by, necessity has to be the case, possibility can be the case, cannot be the case. He's also saying that the necessary, in a certain sense, dictates the configuration of what actually is possible. If something is necessary, you can say that it is possible because it's the case, right? But possibility is also conditioned by what is necessary. And then he's going to say something kind of interesting. Necessary, the anankon and not necessary could be said to be principles, or principle, literally, arche, single principle, of being, enai, and non-being as well. So the being of something being the case, the non-being of something not being the case is probably how we have to take it, and that seems to be explaining something about the potentialities in the previous thing. The other distinction that he's going to make is a three-part distinction, and it's actually quite an interesting one. It raises something that I think some people committed to Aristotle's general schema might find troubling. So he's going to say, well, what is from necessity is actual, right? If it's necessary, it has to be, and it is actual. And the actual is prior, proteron, to the possible. Again, typically Aristotelian metaphysical commitments. And then he's going to talk about three different kinds of possibility in this respect. So there are things that are actual, actualities, we could say, that are entirely without possibility, right? Aneu dunameos, without possibility, but they are energei. And what would these be? Well, these would be, for example, primary substances. Now, this is not primary substance in the same sense that that term was used in the categories where it refers to the individual thing. This is primary substances like God, the intelligence is moving the celestial or heavenly bodies, things that are eternal, right? So that's one class. Not something that we have to worry about too much. Then there's a whole range of things that are both actual and potential. They're not completely actual, but they're not without actuality. They have some potentiality within them, right? So ourselves are good examples of that. I am potential in a whole bunch of different ways that I'm not actualizing right now. And he says actuality is prior to possibility with these in the order of nature, though not in necessarily in the order of time. Now here's the kicker. What's the third? Things that are not in any way udapota actualities, but nonetheless are just potentialities. Dunamis monon. Now you could say, well, how in the hell could they be potentialities if potentiality is in some respect dependent on actuality, but they're never going to be, or they're not in any way going to be actual? And Aristotle's saying these are some potentialities, right? He's not saying, oh, we've got three classes, but one of them can't possibly be the case. He's including that. And the gloss here in the translation gives you some instances of what the translator thinks maybe could fit in there. The largest number, the least magnitude, things like that. They're never realized, but they are conceivable, they're thinkable. Maybe that's what Aristotle has in mind. I myself will say I don't know what he means by bare potentialities or only potentialities that never become actualized, but maybe that's a good example of that. Things that we call beings of reason, where we think them up or we imagine them, but they couldn't possibly become actual. Although he's not committing to saying they can't ever be actual, they just simply are not. So we've got a lot of interesting distinctions bearing on this term potentiality or possibility, and Aristotle thinks we need to keep these in mind so that we don't get tripped up and take one sense for another sense when we're trying to think out what is possible and what is not possible.